manita wali. Inota tongu, wenchi di kubuni. Di kujuta futulu mawafu di genyose. Afaga bevai, maheru, tokunu materu. Naba, maheru naba. Maheru naba. Prophet Nebnaba la Musa, Moro din big. The dog on the truth teller. The prophet Nebnaba la Musa, Moro din big. The chosen one, the Messiah. Basa ile muke naba Masi otobile bana bilege naba Isina basa ile muke naba Dikizi yo mti difeze Dikizi yo mti difeze Na merite biya no ifeze Na merite biya no ifeze Anye kizi yo mti nyamfeze Dikizi yo mti difeze Anya dili maheru shinye feze Merite biya no inala votela Someone the Messiah. He is the chosen one and the Messiah. He's the light and the way. The wisdom of our days. The healer, the preacher, the truth teller. Bangati togo nunge, bisina pasake, ochobo fozi. Chosen one, the Messiah. Bangati togo nunge, bisina pasake, ochobo fozi. Bangati togo nunge, bisina pasake, ochobo fozi.
Ushayi. And welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And we're here representing the Earth Center, which is a non-for-profit organization preserving the Kemetic culture. And my name is Nehibsa Nesipik.
And I'm Kasati Hekama.
And we're going to be trying to give you a nice show tonight, really. So, as we go along, we want to first acknowledge and honor and validate the divine world. And we want to also acknowledge, honor and validate the world of the dead, which is our ancestors. And we also want to acknowledge honor and validate the Prophet Nebnaba, the Musa Morandenibig, who has dedicated his life bringing us this traditional knowledge to the West here, really, for our benefit. So we would just like to give you a short, for anyone who just tuning in for the first time, just give you a quick outline of who the Prophet Nebnaba Muhammad. He was a Dogon high priest, and he was from the village of Burkina Faso, and he's actually coming from a lineage of healers and priests going way back to the Nile Valley civilization. Now, Nebnaba, he actually spoke a lot of languages. I think it's about 13 different languages he spoke. He's visited about 127 different countries. He's been requested to visit a lot of temples, things like that. He's qualified in hieroglyphs language. He's also qualified in Egyptology, amongst a lot of other things really that we've not mentioned, but we're going to one day give you like a good breakdown of who Nebnaba himself was from what we understand him to be. Now, Nebnaba, he actually was given permission from the Gulmi royalties and from the dignitaries of the traditional temples, and also the grand divinities. So he was given permission and elected basically to bring the knowledge here to us here in the West, because they saw the sad state of affair that the West was kind of running the world, and if we continue on that path, we're on that self-destruction mode. So they decided that for the betterment of humanity, they would allow him to come here and basically, take us out of our state of barbarism, which that's the state that we're in at this moment of time. Now, Nebnaba, he first went to Manu, which is what they call America, and he established the first school there in 1998. And the first school that he opened was in Illinois, was in Chicago, Illinois. And then he went further to open another one in New York, and then another one in San Diego. Now, the school was expanding, so the Earth Center began to grow as a demand for the knowledge, for the authentic knowledge increase. So, after going back to Burkina Faso in 2006 and setting up another Earth Center school there in Ouagadougou, in 2008 he made a transition and left us in the physical form. Now, before that, he actually groomed Nebnaba, Irita, Shamira into continuing the works that he had started, and he's further done that by expanding the school on a global level, which the school now is, we've got six schools in the USA, 2 schools here in the UK, 1 here in London and the other one in Coventry. We've got 2 in Canada, I think 1 in Montreal and the other one is in, what's the other place?
It will be in Toronto.
In Toronto, yeah. And that's it, isn't it? There's about 9
Yes.
schools, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, after his transition, he was given the name the Makaru, which means like the truth teller. And so the school actually comprises of 4 different sections, and the first one is the School of Philosophy and Spirituality, which in that class they do no the school of is this actual school. It is actual school, yeah. And in the school we teach 4 classes, 3 classes, sorry. And first is the Medu, which the Greeks call it the hieroglyphs. And in the Medu, um, we actually learn philosophy and spirituality, and we actually learn to read, write, and speak the Medu, which is what we call the Medu Neter, or that's what they call the Medu Neter. But there's also the Medu Ma'id, so there's another tier to it, which is what we actually learn in our initiation. So we actually get to learn and speak that. The Medu, the advantage of the Medu, it basically helps to kind of expand the brain, because it gives us a wider vocabulary of words and things that we can use, which are sounds. That's what actually makes up the Medu language. And again, we irritate that the English language is only 26 letters in the alphabet, which limits us really. And so the Medu far supersedes that really, right? That helps us to expand our brain. Now, the next class is the Katibi class, which we do spirituality and meditation and yoga. In that class, we learn about the cosmogony, the creation story. We also learn about the prayers that we actually do in our daily zemzems, and our ancestral and other divine holy days that we do. So that's the Katibi class. Then we do the Sunt, which is about natural healing. Basically, it's about using this traditional healing. And in the Sunt class, we learn about the human body and how basically to heal the body using natural herbs and techniques used by our ancestors before, as opposed to westernized knowledge. Now, the next part of it is the Firefly publishing distribution of the information that the Earth Center has, which is the Philosophy Podium, the Ejpata, we've got the Sidereal Calendar, the Divine Audience of the Code of Human Conduct, the 77th Commandment. We do like the Sunny Side magazine, the Firefly magazines. So there's a lot of audio stuff really, like a lot of lectures and things that Neb Nubber himself has done, which they're very interesting, and they cover a wide range of different topics out there. So they're very good things to have in your collection, especially like for the youths, really, that they're the up and coming for the future. So it's good to kind of plant the seed. So they're good things to have for the family. Also, we have like the project in Merita, where they dig in freshwater wells, farming techniques, trying to kind of grow and cultivate non-GMO crops, trying to restore temples and things like that, really, right? So it's about kind of trying to redevelop Africa, or Merita, the way that it was, the way that it should be. So the project in Merita is basically about regenerating and trying to kind of maintain certain traditional values that they had before.
In a self-sufficient way.
Yeah. And there's also the Ancaster branch. There they do. They have a lot of products there for herbal products for body maintenance. They also provide earth energy readings there. What else in the anchors today? Yeah. So if anyone would be interested, really, we're going to read out the numbers of how you can contact the temple. If there's...
Yes, okay. So to contact the London school, the telephone number is 0207 175 4144. That's 0207 175 4144. The email address is enquiries-uk@theearthcentre.org. The Coventry address, and by the way, centre is spelled CENTER. The Coventry School's telephone number is 0247 6266 859 or 0730 599 5944. The Facebook address is the Earth Centre of UK. Twitter is Kebtar UK, that is KEBTAH UK. Instagram is at the Earth Centre of UK, and the website on which you can go and find out more about the products and the other parts of the Earth Centre and offers that we do is on www.theearthcentre.org. And I'd like to read the proverb of the week. It's a quote from the Neter Tehuti. To affirm what is true and to want what is just is to preserve. But to affirm and to want the opposite is to destroy. When the individual discovers the truth and wants to operate justly, nothing resists him. And I'd like to read out the telephone number for the studio. If anyone would like to contact and join in with the talk of today, it's 07944 431366. 07944 431366.
Okay. Yeah, we're just going to play you a short interlude and go on to the next section.
In bondage, right through these hairs, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way, it's worse than hell. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Took us away from civilization.
brought us to slave in these bee plantations, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way, it's worse than hell. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Yeah. Took us away from civilization, brought us to slave in these bee plantations, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way, it's worse than hell. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers.
Ujai, welcome back. Welcome back to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And we're here. My name is Nehibsa, and it's Kusati.
Yes, it's Kosati. You sounded doubtful.
Yeah, and you're gonna be. We're just basically gonna be. She's gonna read you something from the.
Yes, this Deccan, the first of Tahuti. We're now in the first month of the sidereal calendar for the year, which was the first of Tahuti, which in colonial time it was the 11th of September. So the first of Tahuti, 419, is the new year of the spiritual year under the sidereal calendar. So the Kemetic New Year is based on the rhythms of the septet star, which the West calls Sirius. And this occurs when the star rises at approximately the same time as the sun. The sidereal calendar was used by the entire world from since the pharaonic times before the invasion of religions and sects. It is still being used worldwide today, especially in traditional communities in Merita, which is what in West they call Africa. It uses the exact cycle of the helical rising as the basis for its time division, making it the most astronomically correct calendar. On this day, spiritually, it's a day that's well indicated for spiritual intentions.
Yeah, and the calendar itself. We said it gives us all of our spiritual days. Now that's the first. We would say that's the first of Tahuti. So as you said, that's the 11th of September, and she talked about the helical rising. Well, basically, to every year on that day, what our ancestors observed was that the sun and the Sirius star would rise together. And what that does really, when they're planting, when they're gonna go to plant, do their planting, they observe really like when that occurs, there usually comes rain. So they were able to determine or to work out when it was going to rain, because where they were living is not somewhere where there was a lot of rainfall. So they had to be very, very, very precise, really, in the way that they would do their agriculture. So the priests would observe that moment there, and so they would know when to plant their vegetation. Now, the we say the sidereal calendar, as we say, it carries all of our spiritual days. So in each month we have 30 days of 10-day decans. And so in those days, on the 5th day and on the 9th day, on the 5th day we have what we celebrate as ancestral holy day. And on the 9th day we do like divine holy day. And we have 2 rest days within that decan. Now, as you mentioned before, that the calendar is the most astronomically precise, accurate calendar there is out there. Yeah. So the Romans, the Greeks, all these different people, and the Gregorian, this is where their calendar system was based off. So we have like say the Gregorian calendar. They well, I'll go back a little bit. Within the sidereal calendar, they got 3 different cycles. They have what they call it like say the seasonal years, which consist of like say 365 days and 366 days. Yeah. So you also have like the medium year, the small year, and that consists of like 1,461 days. And then you have like what they call it like the great year, which is 1,461 years. Now, the seasonal years, what our ancestors noticed was there were seasons within that. Yeah, so that's why they actually use that cycle, because we get like our 4 seasons there. So they were able to kind of know how to do to agriculture, that kind of stuff there really. So that was important for them to know that cycle. So, but the actual length of the year itself was like 1,461 days. Now that would be 4 seasonal years, but the 4th one would be of 366. Now this is where like the Gregorian, they actually use or they celebrate like what they call it like a leap year. This is where they get that this is where they get their information from. So basically they just copied what was already there from us, because I don't think they fully understand even how and why you have like a leap year. But it's they couldn't figure it out for themselves, because we say the human brain cannot invent, so they only can kind of take what they saw, and so that's how they got like say the Gregorian calendar. Now the heliacal rising, that would happen every 1,461 years, where you have the alignment of the 4 planets, which is with the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, and Sirius itself. It's a septics. So when that happens, there's usually a great phenomena that happens. So that's what they call it, like the great year. So that's like that would be like a year or a day in the page of the Netaruz. So on that, when that happens, when that event happens, there's a lot of catastrophes that take place. There is kind of different strange phenomena that takes place on the earth. There's like a cleansing. Certain things get eroded, and some things kind of new things are introduced. So it's one of those stages there where we go through that cycle of changes, and that's basically how we get that 1,000. Because our ancestors, what they recognized really, was that all the different, the actual Sirius star actually gives us the most accurate, it's the most accurate rhythm or cycle that as human beings we can perceive out there in the celestial bodies. Yeah, because when they were searching for something, they observed like the cycle of the sun, they saw the cycle of the moon, and they considered all these different cycles, right? But like the sun cycle, it would take like about 18 years or something like that to for it to evolve, to come back into the same position. So our ancestors observed, right, that those cycles wasn't big enough really to incorporate like all the different cycles that happens within. So the Sirius star actually gave us that. So our ancestors observed these. They never had like technology as what the West here have today. They basically kind of they had the time to sit there and observe over thousands of years, and in observation, they were able to learn all this that they learn now, So the Gregorian calendar, as we said, it basically copied what was there before, and these people, they're very good at copying, yeah, and to take away what was there before. So the difference really between say the Gregorian and the sidereal calendar is that the sidereal calendar is based on the cosmic, on the celestial bodies. Is actually based on the Sirius star, yeah. Whereas the Gregorian calendar is basically controlled, or is based on politics and social ideologies. Nothing about spirituality or anything really, right, that is relevant to sustain the human existence on the planet. It's just about a cycle of getting us to be that workforce. The clock, all these things really, right, was just placed there really, right, to control us really. So they don't really have nothing spiritual, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so when you take away that spiritual side of us, really, we're just, well, what are we? Because when you look at the behavior of what we are nowadays, really, we have to question, really, what are we? Anyway, we just want to go along. We just want to play you a short little interlude again.
Render your hearts and not your garments. The truth is there, for who have eyes to see? Partiality has no place in this judgment. Remember the words of prophecy. Children run, come to truths and rights. That's what I'm about. You know the truths and rights. Teach it to the children. The truths and rights. Teach it to the children, that they should know. No. Children, say a little prayer every night before you go to sleep. 'Cause tomorrow is promised to no one. When you think it's peace and safety, Lord, it could be sudden destruction. 'Cause we know, yes we know. thoughts and not your garments. The truth is there for who have eyes to see. Partiality has no place in this judgment. Just remember the words of prophecy. I say, children run, come to truth and rise. That's what I'm about.
Okay, Ujjayi, and welcome back. Um, we have a special guest tonight um, from Manu. And
Ushayi, Elder, Ushayi. Can you hear us well?
Ujjayi,
One moment, please, Elder. We cannot hear you in the studio. Hello? Ushayi?
Ujjayi, can you hear us?
Okay, one moment. It's not loud enough.
Can you hear?
Plug it into this one. One moment, please.
Can you hear us?
I hear you.
All right, that's good. You're coming through clear now. That's good. We just had to change over some wires. Yeah.
Okay, welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show, Elder. Could you introduce yourself to the listening audience, please? Ujjayi,
Uchai.
Ujjayi, Elder. It's Kasati here. Could you introduce yourself to the listeners, please?
My name is Zakhar Washek. I'm an initiate living in Manu, originally from West Merita. The southern Cameroons, which is under siege, is in the news today as the site of an ongoing program. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, well,
Ujjayi.
welcome back. You mentioned something about something that's happening in Cameroon at the moment. Would you like to expound upon that?
I said that I'm coming to this show via Manu, but I left. I was born and I grew up and was raised in a country called the Southern Cameroons, which was illegally absorbed into another one called Cameroon. And currently, I can't go back home because that country is the site of an ongoing genocide.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm not aware of that. I wasn't aware of that until just now. So, would you like to elaborate on that,
Oh,
please? On what's happening in
well,
your homeland at the moment?
since the universe is one, this is related to everything we do, I'm sure. We're dealing with colonialism as the scourge of our time on Earth this time, of this period when Britain and France left the Cameroons in 1960 at so-called independence. The part I come from spoke English, having been under the trusteeship of the British. The part on the other side, 10 times our area and about 3 times or 4 times our population, had been controlled by the French. And in the decades since then, it was discovered lots of wealth lay in southern Cameroon, from oil to gold to much more, and hardly anything on the other side. So, so independence was just sidestepped as France colluded with Britain and took over Cameroon, which it ran through the puppet government, which continues till today. And in the 54 years since I graduated from secondary school, it's been nothing but killing of people in southern Cameroons to destroy the identity of the territory. And you can find a lot on YouTube. And the world has been looking the other way. And it's ongoing. And there is no attention to it, largely because the powers that be are busy creating other wars elsewhere, which take priority over wars in Africa, in Merita, and but the struggle goes on as the fewer people, the people in that area, 6 million, are standing up to 20 million on the other side, or 18 million, and it's not good at all. I would say that if you go to look on YouTube, be very careful. You're going to see images that may stop you from eating any food for 2-3 days.
Oh, wow.
So that is the situation, but I hope that's not what we'll talk about today.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's worth putting it out there because, you know, there's a lot of people probably didn't know until you're saying it now. So, as you say, it's not the kind of thing that these people are going to put the forefront of their news, really, because it's their trait, really, that they're continuing to do and take away. So nothing really has changed there, really, is it?
No, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The agenda has not changed. The agenda remains the same. The deodorizing of cannibalism. We convert the human into a muscle that does work, and then we consume the work and starve the human. The human dies. The consequence is the same as if you had eaten the human directly. This we call parasitism outside the initiation. We're needing European countries to become independent of Africa, of Merita. Dependency is completely reversed, but for 70 years they've taught the very opposite. You know, take the language and take the word independence, which means not dependent upon, and then apply it to people who are actually the ones feeding the dependents, who call themselves the non-dependents, and the people on whom we depend for. You can take any commodity, cocoa, which they take out and then change it to chocolate, and then bring it back to sell to us, and they control the price at both ends. They determine the price at which we sell cocoa, and then they determine the price at which they sell chocolate back to us. So nothing has changed except that we have become insensitive. We've been desensitized to the facts, to the truth of the situation, to the reality. That's all. This is in every aspect, Hillary Clinton can go out there, visit the villages, recognize the harmony of the societies, and then take a phrase, a wise saying out of the system. It takes a child and it takes a village to raise a child. Then come and write a book and make money off that wisdom, of that particular fragment. It's exploitation at every level of our existence, in conjunction with Europe.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, as you're saying, they're really right. They come and sell us religion, really, wasn't it? You know,
One irony which is very glaring in this is that it is There was this man, on American television, it was called Mr. T, who wore gold chains around his neck
Yeah, yeah,
and
I remember
played
that.
in series for children on television. Mr.
Yes.
T was once asked here if those chains weren't heavy around his neck, and he said, "It's amazing you'd ask me that. They're gold chains, and you ask me they are heavy. When they were iron chains around my neck, you never asked if they were heavy."
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing this exploitation and this, especially mental colonization, going
Yeah.
to an extreme. I left Cameroon. The Cameroons came out to the United States. I'm a professor of English. I retired in 2017, a professor of English and philosophy. Well, isn't it ironical, crazy that I should leave the Cameroons and be teaching a foreign language in the country of its origin to my region? This is just so glaringly wrong or illogical that we have been so conditioned to accept many of these uh, mental diseases as norms.
You wrote an article in the, was it the Sunnyside?
Sunnyside magazine,
Yeah.
if I may say, it was pursuing personal quality. Do you recall that
It was on what?
article? It was
On what?
an article that you wrote in the Sunnyside magazine entitled Pursuing Personal Quality.
I don't recall it.
Okay.
In that you was you make mention of a man chopping or chopping wood making furniture, and a little boy came to him and asked him or said to him, "What you doing?" And there's a man in the moon.
Oh, it comes
That
back.
article. And it went into basically, I don't know if you remember it, but you went into kind of
I do.
about
I do.
the value of you say knowledge, and you went through like the stages of the amount of years and things like that that we spent within the system. Um, yeah. So I don't know if you can remember the article. Would you like to expand a little bit on what you was trying to get across there in the article there, because it's quite interesting.
Yes, I would stumble upon that concept my father was trying to introduce me to at the age when I was the age of 7 or 6 or 7 or something. Which I said I would run into the concept again on that tutelage with Nebnaba Lamusa Morodenibik much, much later,
Mm-hmm.
as I looked at his works and dreamed of getting into initiation from West Virginia. He was saying that the master, Nebnaba was saying that we cannot come to the table to win respect and bring nothing that is not already on the table. And on a table where everything that was on display was material, was of the material plane, we have the opportunity to introduce the perennial and most valuable thing that one could bring to any table in the human group, and that was quality. All studies in the university are quantitative. The computers handle everything. If it cannot be transformed into a quantity, it cannot contribute to the cell phone or to anything else. Everything is physical and quantitative. So my father's story would strike me years later. The man, I'm not sure there's a man in the moon. I think he was not lying, but he was trying to get me to learn something. The guy was busy splitting firewood with his foot on it, the way we split firewood in my own group. You put your foot on it to stabilize the log, and then you bring the axe down on it and chip away like that. And so I thought the thing in the moon looked like that. And my father used that, just used that apprehension of mine, that perception, to tell me that it was a father splitting wood for his wife to cook dinner for their children.
Yeah.
And I said, the second day I came, the guy was still there. I said, no, 2 days later, I said, Papa, that man is still up there.
Yeah.
The children must be starving by now. It's been 2 days. And my father said, well, that's because he's dead. And I was disturbed by the sudden end of the story. And then then I asked what a dead man was doing in the moon. And to which he said, well, he was living a very good life. And when death comes for anybody, it doesn't give you time to prepare. It just takes you, whatever you're doing, it just takes you away.
Mm-hmm.
He was splitting wood, so death took him away. But because he was a good man, death stamped his image in the moon to tell the rest of us that if you live a good life, no, that you should live a good life because you don't know at what time you will leave. So live a good life at all times. Live a life of quality. And I would associate that with the lesson on quality. And then wrote that article. It's a common image among the women. I had to point to the moon and say, there's a guy standing up there reminding all of us to live very well at this moment, to live as best we can at this moment. Yeah.
So the story, if I'm not mistaken, was about useful knowledge as opposed to useless knowledge.
Another link. Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. There's a lot I know, and the aging was part of one of the discussions. I thought you wanted me to talk about that.
Yes.
There's a lot that I know at 73 that is useless. I learned much of it at 20, added to it at 30, and I cannot use it. I never used it. Yet I spent a lot of effort and money, to acquire this useless knowledge.
In colonial schools, that is.
Yes, in colonial schools. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, people should call me, I ask people to call me Tayoba or Zakao, but they should not call me Dr. Anything. I said, if the first degree is fool me once, what business did I have really to be fooled twice to get a master's degree and then fooled thrice to get a doctorate in useless knowledge? Just to abandon it all and then be coming to Mtam to be re-educated.
Yeah, and so I mean, as you said, learning the knowledge, and basically they make you choose the job that you or the career that you want to go into. So
Yes.
they make you believe that you have choices, that you're in control of your own destiny, and so we would go through the struggles of accumulating wealth and everything like that. I don't know if you remember that part of it, but you could expound on what you were trying to get across, really, because I think it comes better from you.
If I can jog your memory, it was regarding a lifestyle of carefree comfort.
Yes. There are so many ways to talk about this. I have also learned in aging, growing older, I've also learned to I have become multilingual, but we have to put the multilingual phrase in quotation marks, because it means that sometimes these languages or these dialects that we meet in the West, they're not complete, so they don't often say things exactly. They rather squint at what they're looking at. So I've become better at hearing what people are saying, even when the words they're using are not saying it. Sure, you know what I mean. Like around here, when we came back, when we finally came to America and Britain after 1960, when they began to pick up a few of us on Merita and then indoctrinate us, which is the classical method, to send us back there, we noticed that the Peace Corps who got back here would say to us things like, how come when we were in Africa, you guys treated us very well. Your hospitality is unmatched. And now you've come to America and we just can't afford to treat you the same way. So there are vague apprehensions, like looking through a fog and seeing something, could be a tower, a dome, or something in the fog, something looming out there. Americans are aware of this. They are acutely aware that something is missing and is right there, just slightly beyond reach. that they could be getting at the same time that they are getting cars and money and when they lack something to do, add a dog to it or a cat, they still look at a foreigner. The accent is always in America, and like an announcement, an alarm, like raising a red flag, and then zoom. Those microphones come at you, and you become the target of a press conference, just because that accent leads them to suspect that you know something else. And they're trying to find it. It never fails. That's been my life in America for 40-something years.
So you mentioned because last week we were talking about the topic of aging and ageism and discrimination against the elders.
The elderly.
Yes. So could you explain for us the difference of an elder and how an elder is perceived in the Western society as opposed to in traditional society?
Yes. My brother and I were talking this morning. He lives in Cotonou, in Benin. And he did visit the pilgrims who visited Alada last year. And we were talking about getting old now that we are in our 70s. And we noted that in the village, the elders are the one everyone comes to. People come to consult the elders for advice on every aspect of life. We do not have in my language, in Limbum, we have a word for insanity, but we don't have a word for dementia. If people see that you're old, they expect you in the village to know more, and they come to consult you. So if people see your hair is gray, your beard is white, it usually goes that way, us in the continent, if they see that, the expectation is, this one knows something. Will he be what can we do to win his attention and a moment with him? Because we are sure to learn something. Contrast that with the United States. Trump is old. Biden is old. These are negatives. Their memory is bad, and so on. We have nothing but negatives, and just this deprecatory view of older people. They're associated with. Recently, I almost lost my cool when my insurance here called me. They want to schedule me for in-home care, have people come and visit me, and I said that I did not need it. They said, it's free, it's already prepaid, now you're retired, and so on. I said, no, I really do not need it, just in the way I'm retelling it to you now. They hang up, and then they call again, and they call again. When the fourth time someone called, I said, I have given you this information through 3 other callers. You assured me that these messages were being recorded for quality control. Could you please just go and listen to the recording instead of asking me the same question, because I will not be answering. I shall not answer it again. So that one hangs up. The very next day, another one calls, and this time sounded like this. Good afternoon, sir. How are you? I hope you are having a lovely day. It's wonderful to get this opportunity to talk with you about your services from us here at Humana. And then I said, Madam, that's worse than what the others told me. Now you're demoting me to the level of a child who knows nothing and is you're trying to be cool and calm and tranquilize, a spoiled child. I said, switching the tone doesn't change anything, madam. The fact is that I don't need those services. It will take only 45 minutes. I said, I have to subtract 45 minutes of my life to spend with you to talk about something I know I don't need.
Yeah.
Madam, please, I really don't need the services of Humana. And she was exasperated with me, even though I never raised my voice, and I have tried to report it to you the way that I spoke with her. Okay, but for about 3 weeks now, they have not called me. I am emphasizing this view of the old, the elderly, as helpless. Whereas in the villages, they are the strength, they're the backbone, the intellectual backbone of the community.
Well, we see in this Western society that there is no respect for the elderly.
Yes.
We see like even in the workplace where once you reach certain age, you get to say 45, 50, coming up them age there. If you so happen to kind of say want to think about changing employment or anything like that, it's very difficult for
Yes.
you. Very, very difficult because for one, as you said, they don't respect knowledge. The fact that you've gone through a stage in your life and learning something, so it's only natural. This is the comparison where traditional would basically, as you say, they would respect that knowledge there, and people would come to you for advice and for whatever they need. Here, it's about making money. So if they employ someone younger, they will pay them less money. So I
Yes.
don't know if you've got any experiences like that, or you've like that you would share. Just let people understand really like what it's like coming into age, and how the system basically is trying to kind of exploit you basically.
Yes. Yes. It is. It is this attitude of obsolescence carried into from products into human beings. You come to Manu, come to America. We sometimes say, I hear others say too. We all know it's a market. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're coming from Merita or coming from another essential society, primary society, a society that is intact, then if you come here, you're not very careful. The greatest danger is not that you become a slave by getting a job, which will happen, but that you might become a product and not even know it. The aged in the society are exploited. Medical, insurance, and others who are like vultures on the old, monitor the money they made during their working years. They manage their assets and they tap into them. And when those assets run out, not much attention. Even while they're sucking them out of the aging, they're not delivering good services. Journalists are out there reporting daily about the poor care in many, many nursing homes. I have a colleague, I came to this country with him, who is in that industry as an inspector. He tells me the nightmares he sees in these nursing homes in the South, which belong to millionaires and tycoons, people who make a lot of money, of the aged. Because as you age in America, you become a product. You can be sold, you can be managed, investments are made in you. When I was younger, I was, I'll say fortunate, for lack of a better word, since I don't have time to find it. I was sponsored by the United States government, and when I graduated, like other graduates from Africa, Colombia, around the world, who were beneficiaries of that program, we were sent to Boston to study with a think tank and to see how the society works and to visit all the institutions and corporations that ran the place, the very top ones, from those who manufactured parts for the Apollo projects, aircraft, engines like Sylvania and even Black Label beer. And finally, we got to the Massachusetts General Hospital. And since we were all being trained in business, the Africans asked, what's your inventory in the hospital? It couldn't be the beds. We don't see you charging for them. It couldn't be the medicines because you got a pharmacy out there to take care of that. But the guys taking us on tour, the director of the hospital, couldn't answer the question. The professors who were our tutors from Harvard and from Boston University and others there couldn't answer the question either. It was obvious to us that the patients were the inventory, but it was clearly so immoral and unethical to them that even they couldn't admit that the patients were the inventory. They were the product. Okay? Held on consignment from their relatives and those who were paying the consignment fees, so on. So it appalled us. We were young and we spoke out. This is horrible. This is not civilization. Please do not widespread this mode of healthcare across the world. You know, we are not products. People cannot be inventory. That was 1972. It's 2019. It hasn't changed. That's what we have still.
But you say that, Rita, right? But it goes across the board, though. Like, say, I mean, from 6 weeks when you're born, you're forced here. You're forced to register your child to register at birth. Yeah. So
Yes.
the control basically starts from that moment there, really. So it's you've just been groomed for that position there. So what they're saying is when you come to that age, the little bit that you were able to accumulate for yourself is going to be taken back from you. But we're being controlled from then,
Yes.
not just when you've reached that age.
Yes. The society is this is not this is what we are saying, what we are observing, even in initiation. These are not really solely external criticisms. There is a struggle within the society, just like within the human body. When there's disease, the body will fight it automatically. It doesn't have to go involving the brain. In its location, each area will fight it. Within the society, many pockets, getting louder and louder every day, are aware that it's a systemic dysfunction, that is an agenda against first the biological unit called a human, a child. They recognize it, but they don't know how to fight it, or rather how to heal it. The social security number must be slapped on a child the day the child is born, to track that child, and then later on, that social security follows you. Now we have GPS. You have a cell phone. Not only are you tracked, you're not tracked physically. Your location is known. A missile can target just you and drop within 3 feet from where you are. Essentially, it's hit you. So this control is making citizens nervous, and there's a dialogue across the country about it. It used to be you couldn't talk about this on the phone, certainly not overseas, but it's a loud dialogue across the place of excessive control of the press, of the press deciding that some candidates will not appear, will not be shown to the public. It's medicine, food, and so on. To F, a grain from Ethiopia, which is used in that sheet of kind of bread, damp bread that is part of the diet of Ethiopian peoples. The F, when they discovered it, it's very nutritious in America, they decided to genetically engineer it and then grow it so it can grow in quantity to feed more people without thinking about the consequences or without caring about the negative, the adverse consequences of feeding people experimental grains like that. They grew it, harvested it, and it was found, I remember the time, each grain, though bigger, was completely empty. Inside it was just air. Too many of these experiments on the human, which is lack of respect for the human being, of course, don't mention honoring their ancestors. Too much of this has infected everything. Nutritionists are now arguing here in the US that the soil is the problem.
Mm-mm.
How can food be organic if the soil is already depleted?
Mm-hmm.
This is how far this has come, this interference with the course of nature.
I mean, consequently, the food that we've been given, as you can see, is actually aging people, making them get older quicker. I mean,
And
when you look at our
sicker.
youths out there, all this processed food and everything, the steroids, all these different kind of hormones that they're putting into the food chain. Our children really, well, not just children, but we see it more like how they're developing quicker than what they're supposed to be. You know.
Absolutely. My father got toothache or a bad tooth in his 60s. I arrived in the United States at age 20 or something, and 1 year later I had a cavity.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And there were all kinds of explanations. Sugar was to blame, but we ate
Salt.
sugar cubes in the British colony.
Mm-hmm.
From Tate and Isle in England, we
Mm-hmm.
ate
Mm-hmm.
sugar cubes as children. We had no candy, no sweets. We ate sugar cubes raw, direct like that,
Mm-hmm.
and had no cavities. Okay, so it must be something in the environment,
And
in
the
the soil, in the
water.
water, and
In the
whatever.
water. Yeah.
It has to be. And so, anyway, if I may return to aging, there are obviously two. I shall speak from experience.
Mm-hmm.
There are obviously two, for me, thanks to initiation, I see two dimensions. Before that, I saw one. The body gets old, and your knees get, you know, they 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 they, they hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and this muscle is strained, and so on. Um, yes, but no one that I know, no one whom I know in his 70s, in fairly good health, wants to be 35 again, in spite of the fact that the body will work better, but nobody wants to exchange. No one who's just normal, not a billionaire, not a millionaire, just normal person with normal means of survival that I know at age 70 wants to be 35 again, would not go back to that age.
Mm-hmm.
None wants to be 45 or even 50. They're looking at the benefits of aging, which they did not know when they were 22, 36, 35, and which they could not know from their experience. All of this is not studied in the United States. Mentioned here and there, by front guard researchers. The culture doesn't invest any effort into teaching, bringing out, exposing the benefits of aging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like as you say, really, like, so all that knowledge and everything, really, right? That knowledge, wisdom. Because I mean, when you reach certain age 50, they say in the Kemetic school of philosophy, really, that well, you can't basically stand up and say anything, really, right, until you've done at least 50 years. So where they're telling us here that life begins at 40,
Yes,
and
yes,
when we see a lot of people, they get to 40 and they think, okay, then I haven't achieved this much, really, right, and they start to panic, as if to say, well, they're gonna everything is coming to an end, and it's like they have this control over the different increments in your life. Like at 16 you're supposed to be doing this, at 21 you're supposed to be doing this, and so it's like subconsciously they've programmed you to say, well, by the time you retire, if you live to retire, you should die, because they make no provision about you kind of say um, living life after that. And in your article that you was going through earlier on, and you were saying about the ages, yeah, like you say, you work and then you're discarded really. Like after a certain age, that's all you are, just a commodity within the system. You're just there to work, and basically you come to that stage in your life where you're just supposed to die after that, and there's no respect, as you were saying there, that's given to the elderly, really, which should be given, because.
Yes. There is a Latin phrase which I used to quote in the days I respected Latin a lot and took pride in knowing it, even though I wasn't learning my language as well as I was learning Latin, the speech. They said, "Nemo dat quod non habet," just translates, "You can't give what you don't have."
Mm-hmm.
Initiation presents knowledge which is missing in the superficial, in this purely war society. And that's the second dimension. We mentioned the first, which is aging physically.
Mm-hmm.
But aging as growth is unknown. As a concept, it is completely foreign in America, in France too, and in England, as over there. It's just that that there's a side of you, an aspect of you. We could even say there is a you that is aging simultaneously with the physical you that you see. There are ways to hint at this reality, the car and so on. There are ways to hint at it in the language called English, but it is avoided. The reality of aging is avoided.
Mm-hmm.
The possibility that you're actually growing
Mm-hmm.
instead of aging, that you're actually growing toward a birth that will happen when you discard the body. That that, that is feared, that spiritually, or as spiritually meaning as a spirit body, or spirit soul, whatever, however we try to translate it into English, that this entity that doesn't inhabit but cohabits and becomes one with this physical one for a while, that side is scary. It is referred to in the 50s and 60s, it was referred to as occult, esoteric, and not to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, those organizations have found that to survive, they better have a presence in the physical world where people read and go on television and listen to radio. And now they're coming out and recruiting people. So they're no longer occult or hidden, but they're still esoteric. And religion has been standing all this time as we are it, we are it, we are it, we're the ones, we're the organization that can enlighten you about the side of you that will not die when your body does.
Mm-hmm.
And they're finding it's just confusion because, as we know from initiation, they're just speculating about it. And at the same time, doing everything as they have been for 2,000 years to destroy any pointers to its existence anywhere in the world. So that side of aging is one that I live, experience, and research only with other elders
Mm-hmm.
my age, because except in initiation, nobody younger knows anything about this. So it makes aging in Western societies a lonely business.
A stigma. So when you really look at then, like say the amount of money that people spend then really like on trying to look young. I mean,
Yes,
could you just elaborate a little bit on that? Because I'm sure you must have covered because it is an industry, really, isn't it? Aging. So
yes, it is a huge industry which begins early, which my understanding of it, speaking with you in this environment, it is actually all a philosophy of teaching despite self-hatred, not
mm-hmm.
liking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It begins with makeup, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and looking in the mirror and then correcting the mirror yourself. And sometimes looking in the mirror and instead of seeing yourself, you see, if you're a white dude around here, you see in my days John Wayne, okay? Or you see Paul Newman, or you see Dustin Hoffman. If you're a woman, you see Shirley, I forget her last name,
Shirley
or you
Temple.
see Julia Roberts. You see some other model, then you try to look like that person. In the meantime, you're hating who you really are and what you look like. As you get older, this gets worse.
Yeah.
If you try to look like someone younger, you feel ridiculous because they don't quite rub shoulders with you. Everything is telling you, be about the business of getting older and looking around to harvest what's there which you didn't have, couldn't reach when you were younger. It's in America, this this pain of getting old is evident to everybody as people my age in the 70s are driving in air-cooled Volkswagen Beetles of the 50s and 60s. They could not afford them then when they were in their teens.
So they live in
They
it
can now. So they try to be young again, not by makeup, but right in their minds by going to possessions they couldn't afford in those days, even though those things are now obsolete but also dangerous to drive. You're going to be crushed in an accident. You don't have a chance of survival. So fear of aging, first time we're mentioning fear, there is a tremendous fear of getting old here.
And an embarrassment as well. They make it embarrassing.
And then people compliment me by saying, if I say, I'm 73. Oh, you don't look 73 at all. What do I look? Well, you look like you could be 50 or 40. I said, I do want to look 73, by the way. And then no one knows what to say to such a response, which is true.
Yeah.
We don't fit. The society has no room for its elders. And so it has this shelf where it parks, stores them away, a kind of museum, or now we call it here death row. You know, get them out of work, retire them. They should not be concierge. They should not be receptionists. They should not be the people the society meets when it comes into your company. Okay. So we see it all around. It is actually, I can say now, a cruelty by the youth to their elders. And it is fashionable and accepted.
Yeah, but it was actually taught to them by elders. The youths are not the instigators of this evil.
It's paradoxical.
Yeah.
The elders taught them. Yeah, the mothers trained them that way. Kick them out of the house at 18, and now they're lonely at the house in the compound.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I said, it's in this society, it's an embarrassment to grow old.
Yes.
And you're supposed to hide your age. They can't ask a woman what their age is. It's an embarrassment. And so, yes, because they have been led to believe they have no more value to the younger generation. So the younger generation have actually bought into this lie and therefore do not look up to their elders. Now, even if we were to speak to them, what they're thinking about what
Yeah.
we're speaking, they'll say, "Oh, that's old, man."
Yes.
You know, and everything to do with something traditional is looked down on in a disrespectful way.
Yes.
So this is the
I
struggle that we have.
uh, I recall during the Vietnam invasion, a Chinese diplomat was asked whether the hippie movement, the sexual revolution, and all of that, let's live everything in the open, and let's destroy the establishment. Ask whether this romanticism um, was the result of the original romanticism of Samuel Taylor Coleridge, William Wordsworth in England,
Mm-hmm.
and and uh, and um, and even Immanuel Kant. His Critique of Pure Reason was published in 1790, the same year that those Englishmen came out with their lyrical ballads, which is the start of the Romantic movement, where they said that classical poetry is not to be prized over no uh, um, uh, poems and epic poems and the drama of kings and gods should not be considered superior to that of the tragedies of ordinary people. This is the thesis of the Romanticism out of England. And they asked a Chinese diplomat whether he thought that the rebellion in the United States had anything to do with it. Did it descend from it? Is it echoes from that past? Did it carry over? The diplomat said, well, too soon to tell, which Americans couldn't understand. Time here is too brief. To the Chinese, to Americans, 10 years ago is a long time ago. It's ancient history.
Wow.
But the Chinese are patient compared to them and said, what? 1790 to 2000 or to 1968? And we should wait for more data. It's too soon to draw a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This impatience makes life here, as many poets writing in America and protesting this stuff recognize, ephemeral, kaleidoscopic, just passing. No memory. Memory is not valued. History has no value. And so you can see the corruption as I observe it from my profession in the language. Children speak an English in America today, people in their 20s and 30s, which wasn't spoken 10 years ago and wasn't spoken 40 years ago. Books they write in this modern colloquialism will not be readable, will not make sense to Americans in 10 years because everything changes like that. No respect for any produce, any product of the culture. And so there is this perpetual restlessness, which is a feature of Manu and which is completely absent in traditional societies. Completely absent. So aging and travel helps one to see this, to see it, rather than to go researching, studying it, to see it. A pilgrimage will make all these things. One pilgrimage will clarify the thinking of anybody who leaves the society and goes onto it. Just one,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I'm speaking to the choir here. What's the point? I just came back from Manu. I took 3 pairs of shoes and a pair of sandals. I never wore the pairs of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any reason in the world to do such a thing.
So
Yeah,
you've been on many pilgrimages then?
I missed that.
No, I said, have you been on many pilgrimages?
Yes. So the idea of living in harmony with nature in order to have nature support you and then assist you to live a full life, whatever the fullness for you will be. Physical life, 20 years, 40 years, 80 years, 150. The idea, that is the knowledge that we are a part of nature and work with nature is not only absent, but it is actually deprecated. You know, it is resisted, crushed out
Mm-hmm.
in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution, there always is one, is individual. Find it, follow it, choose the path as Master Nava teaches us. Make sure the path is going where you want to go, and then take that one, you know, and ignore the responses around you to your behavior and to your focus.
So what would you say to some of these young people out there? I mean, the fact that their parents and things. I mean, we see cases out there where they're actually killing their parents, really, right, to get the inheritance.
I would say this with Michael Moore's interviewees or people he talked to in France said when they were asked why they left, this was in Fahrenheit 9/11, why did they leave America? I mean, don't they regret anything? Yes, we regret. We do regret. One very important thing we all regret is that we failed to persuade our parents to come with us.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is something that the Prophet taught. Return to Merita is best when it's actually physical also.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't teach this in the universities and actually survive that career to retirement.
Mm.
But to package it in a different way. Travel. If you travel, you'll come back with something else to compare what you know here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's to Mexico or to Norway, or just travel outside here. Just
Mm.
travel outside. Go to Costa Rica. Take a trip to do what? Just to see different places.
It broadens your horizons, doesn't it?
Just travel. That's the beginning. When you come back, your perception of reality will have expanded.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It will include things that you did not know. So take your parents on vacation. If you're a successful guy in your 40s, take them to places like, most importantly, the traditional places around the world for a
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Because it is not all these traditional places that have actually codified, documented their knowledge, and stored them in archives
Yeah.
the way the Chem did. So that's what I would say. Take your parents on vacation and don't go visit another copy of New York City, which is in Italy or in Moscow or somewhere, or in
Mm-hmm.
Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Go to different places. No.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the most difficult thing, the most important one really is to say, think. It's that simple. Think. Is this it?
Mm-hmm.
You have $250,000 to spend from a wealthy family. What should you buy with it? You know? Travel. That's what I would say, sir. Travel. Look
Mm.
Yeah.
around.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you travel, my experience is, and my observation too of other people, is that you don't resist learning.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to a lecture, you can resist it. When you travel, you have to deal with the realities you're seeing.
Yeah.
Comparison contrast is automatic in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you come back satisfied with where you are, at least you give you give yourself a chance. If you come back bringing some memories, memorabilia, and then planning another trip out, you've grown.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think what's important as well, which I think a lot of people when they travel, they go to places with preconceived ideas already in their minds. It's like the
Yes.
honest or the dishonest question, and just go there with an openness. Well, that's the way I see it. And, they come back and say, "Oh, it wasn't all good because,"
But they've
but
been brainwashed, though, haven't they, by the media, and especially when it comes to countries in Merita. They've been brainwashed to believe that everybody's poor and the children have big bellies due to starvation, and
Yes.
it's a lot of misconception, isn't it?
I am traveling back to Merita. I'm looking forward. I'm trying to settle a few financial things here. And these are things that we in the initiation should be speaking about to each other. I say should, that is, I shouldn't say that, I should say, I think it would help if we spoke to each other, with each other, openly about our own survival plans on the physical plane. How
Mhm.
are we going to feed ourselves? How are we going to eat?
Mhm.
These are things that older people know more about. Okay, how are we going to do this? Um, if we arrive in Merida as individual capitalists with our own businesses and so on, we're just infecting the society we came to to inhale, and to merge into, you know. So um, I am. I think at the moment I present it like that. I think that those who already have a foothold in Ma'anu in the West should make the best of it, and if possible, have businesses here, not ground earth-shaking ones, build those over in Merita, and then let those businesses feed you in Merita because the exchange rate favors uh, purchasing things in Merita. Okay, um, and there are certain businesses that you can manage remotely. Um, we should be brainstorming to plan this exit so that on arrival we're not a burden to our hosts. Another problem that does hit us upon arrival is also to resemble the solution for our hosts, our siblings who've not left. If we arrive like that, then we are arriving as the arch corruptors because they'll be asking you for funds to invest in businesses and you become a philanthropist. None of us can afford to be that. See, it's a practical problem that we should handle quickly because it won't get easier without spending more time here. I see that if we get there and network together, we know more about saving frugality when it comes to money than people on the ground. Then we can expand as we merge into them and we become one and share the responsibilities, share the harvests from either continent and then struggle with each other when it's low. After all, there's one thing we have there we don't have here, and that is solidarity. So I have been here working hard, and by the end of the week, I should know certainly that I'm ready to go back to Merita. And when I go this time, I'll begin to work to break my links so that I can come back here only to visit.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd love to be part of that brainstorming session, Elder.
Yes, indeed. I think we all should. I am brainstorming with someone else in Chicago and seeing what we can do. I mean, it's easy for us to go out there with our capitalistic skills and set skills and set up exploitative businesses, and we'll do very well. But nobody wants to do that if you're in this thing with us. So it's something we have to do quite carefully, and we can do it. There is also you all know about the state of the society in Manu. It's the instabilities. I mean, just social security. I do not mean the, the money that the social security will pay you. I mean, just being secure in the society, like walking around the same way that you walk around in Waga or in Sokode. Um, it's low. It's low here. Okay.
For supposedly to be a first world country.
Supposedly what? I missed that.
To be a first world country. I mean, they denigrate us to being third world countries, but yet they're treating their people a lot worse than what we are really in an environment that is very hard for them to survive in.
Yes, we are going to be needing. My first teacher here used to tell me when I entered NIST in 2011 that you take these notes in class, you better go back and be reading them over and over and over. I said, what for? He said, for insights into how to solve your present problems. I felt stupid and laughed and walked away to my notes. We never remember everything that we know, at least not in time to, like a random access memory, find it. It's there, and sometimes we remember an initiation lesson after we've missed the opportunity to apply it. So, so uh, that's why talking with each other is, for me, very sustaining.
So, as an elder to a younger, what advice could you give them really to say you've still got your faculties and everything going, yeah? So, what advice would you give to some of these young youths from out there? Because we seem to have the dementia kind of creeping up rapidly on a lot of us out there, really. So,
All
you
right,
know,
okay. I'll say this in addition to what I said, which was I'm an English professor, so I talk in a longish way, and I don't like that. I'm working on it, okay? I'd say, I would say, hang around older people physically, physically.
Yeah.
Spend more time around older people whom you trust. That's what
Yes.
I would say.
Yes.
Most important.
Who you
Spend, that
trust.
is to say, change your environment that you can change now. Live with them, hang around with them, and then consult them and other people when you want to take critical decisions in your life. Of course, the ultimate consultation we know is get a reading. If it's not that serious, hold conversations with older people.
yeah,
Do. It's very, very important. Run things by them before you go act. Little things that don't seem to matter. Because your perspective and your confidence in your perceptions and so on will be enhanced by just bouncing those things that you're about to do off older people around you, and of course of other initiates even before that. If the older people are not in initiation, just don't be alone. Don't do it alone. This me, my, I.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
how it manifests in all of us when it comes time to take decisions about careers, about businesses, about whatever. We forget to network, to bounce these ideas off older people. We have the scars you can avoid, for one thing, to put it negatively. And in some cases, we have some candles you can see still burning.
yeah. As I said, it's not every mistake that you have to make yourself. You can learn from those who was before you, wasn't it? So they're there.
And
So, but
yes,
what we find though, I don't know if it's the same thing you have over there in our menu, but there we have a lot of gentrification going on here, yeah. And the areas
yes,
what they used to be deemed as ghetto areas, yeah. What we find is this gentrification is, and so what you find is that you grow up in that area there, and when that gentrification come in, you now can't afford to buy into that same area that your family and your parents live in. So you're forced. It's like there is a deliberate ploy to separate the families, and so that knowledge that you could be sharing, that the grandparents could actually passing down to their grandchildren, because they're not located no more close to each other, that kind of
yes,
get dissolved there really.
yes.
And I don't know if it's happening over there, but we see it happening here a lot where they've been priced out.
I am, I am, I am very, I am happy that you brought that up. I had no idea that gentrification was going on in the UK, but now I can see why shouldn't it? It's a
Yeah.
global agenda. It's all around me here where I'm speaking with you. Okay, I live in an area called the West Side of Charleston. Um, the it's mainly uh, uh, non-white peoples who live here, but suddenly it has value because land doesn't expand,
Mm.
and we see gentrification coming as a good road has been built around it like a ring, so cars can now drive around it. Then houses are being bought on the edges of it, the same way that you consume a bowl of hot soup by sipping at the edges where it's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, a school has been built on the edge of this area, neighboring a river. Okay, people coming in there buy these houses, tear them down, build better ones. And of course, residents, as you said, cannot afford to buy even the one in which they live. Soon it becomes an eyesore. The city will require it to be torn down. Then you sell it for pennies to the developer, in quotes, who will then chase you out. And there is no particular zone into which they're chasing people out of these gentrified areas. What do we do? Well, there's a trick, not a trick, there is a system used all over Western Merita called Njangi. It's also called the Susu in Ghana. It has different names, and among my own people it's called Ngwa. One reason we are not able to keep, or we are failing to keep our neighborhoods is that we call them our neighborhoods, but our houses are not built compound-like. They're built, like books on a shelf, so they can't talk to each other. Okay. So what we can do is apply the Njangi thing. The Njangi is what gave Westerners the idea of a credit union. People get together in Njangi. My father was he's in Ngwa. We use Ngwa all over. We use it in the United States. We coming from Merita. You, Catasta, and I live in an area. In the future, it will be gentrified. We know it. What do we do? Every month, Catasta puts down half of her income. You put down half of your income, your earnings. I put down half of mine. And we suffer to survive the month like that. The month, the next month, the next 2 months, because there are two of us coming after her. So for 2 months, in every 3 months, we don't have half our income. It's a forced saving. If you have 12 people, which is an ideal number, it takes a year to go through it. At the end of the 12th month, every member has 12 times their monthly or whatever amount they were putting in. It's a lot of money. So each month we're giving that money to one person.
Yeah, just like a partner.
At the end of, yes. So we take it and then we say, we build you a house. Next month, we build you a house and gentrify our houses ourselves. The next month, after 12 months, we've gentrified 12 houses, no interest involved, based on the trust and the strength of the community. The following year, you do it again, but this time you don't have a house. At the end of that year, as you're living tight, close to your bone, living well, but living very, very economically and not wasting your energy, your resources, this time you have all this extra money that came from your just drastic, disciplined saving. Merita has been sustained like that for centuries. No interest. Just one susu, one gua after another around. The women have their own. They don't involve large sums. Whatever sum you're saving is a disciplined, and after 12 months, it surprises you to see that 12 times that sum is actually quite a lot of money. And if you didn't miss it, then you can double it in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
That technique can be used anywhere people want to remain, where they live, to work with each other instead of be individualists, just like the rest of them, in our own so-called community.
Well, that's the fear, is it? Sorry.
That's it. I think that's a solution that will work anywhere in the world.
But are you familiar with the partner system, though? That
Yes.
Yeah, it's a similar kind of thing you're saying there, really, isn't it? Where
Yes.
every week someone put in something really, right, and basically every week someone can come away with something. But
Yes.
rather than drawing that money, you bank it.
Yes.
You bank it for a year. Yeah.
Yes. 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 In fact, instead of keeping it, you can. Well, banks are fairly trustworthy nowadays, unless some banks start the kind of thing you've seen in the United States in the crashes. Okay. Yes. Yes. In fact, but then you see, Hasati, we run into ethical difficulties here, because during the effort in 1980, 79, we got Mandela out of jail, we say, by the massive demonstrations throughout the United States. I was an activist. I always have been in those things. Then we had Namibia. At the same time, we were fighting to get Namibia out of, to free Namibia from colonization by South Africa. Okay. And then we had the concerns like this. If you take money, then you invest it, let's say, in some big jewelry company here through Wall Street, This company is making its profits. In the case of my university, it had $1 billion in holdings in South Africa, So if you invest in the banks, and the banks are supporting South Africa and killing our brothers there, that takes a bite that our consciences couldn't bear, So we decided to forego interest and stretch the struggle out a little bit so as to not have any blood on our hands, Those things come in. I just came from the bank. My bank here is, I was talking with them about keeping money there, but I probably won't, because last month they came under fire because they had just decided that people who had credit cards with them, if there were any disputes between credit card holders and the bank, then credit card holders at the moment have to sign that they agree that arbitration will be between the banks and the credit card and the customers using an arbitrator appointed by the bank. This is the kind of dictatorship we have. I don't know where all of that, Merita. So on that principle alone, I am on the brink of withdrawing everything I have with them and making no more deposits there. Okay. So those are the considerations when we want to invest money and we are not in control of the instruments that those investments will buy.
I think with us as even black people, though, I think what we people are looking for, though, is a lot of transparency as well, because we've seen where a lot of people we're scared. Every other community out there, for some reason, they're able to kind of say to do for themselves, but for some reason, we don't seem to be able to gain that trust amongst ourselves, really, right, to make that step forward. Because you've put forward a solution to the problem there, but how many of us are actually going to trust each other to engage in that? That's where the problem is, and this is where, again, it comes back down to that article that you wrote, and I think there was one slight difference. I would have done that. Was one is education and one is knowledge, and so they've been educated to behave and to distrust each other, whereas in Kemetic knowledge, we're trained, we're taught to trust each other and to develop and to live. So that's the only difference there in the article there when you were speaking about knowledge, is that I think I'd have used the word education instead.
I know that my teachers are way wiser, way than me, and gosh, my lucky, because what use is it to anybody who is trying to grow to hang around with people who won't teach you something? I think the wiser you are, perhaps the faster you want to return to Imentet or something, So I would say that I am finding in my age that practical solutions are really the test of our intelligence.
Yeah.
What you were saying just now about what we do with the money we raise through Susu Onjangi Ongwa, I'm thinking right now, why don't we just create a bank in Burkina? Create our own bank. Create a bank, start small. Create a bank and loan to each other on the base of that trust. You talked about education versus, what is it? Thinking? No, knowledge. There again, Merita, the Kemetic society, educates a generation. There's no way they can be individualists. It educates a generation. It doesn't want to educate the individual unless you were stuck like me and everyone left and you were left alone in your generation. Okay. But So the model of comedic education, which is it is generational, solves the problem of individuality as I see now. You know, you are Hasati, you work with your Hasatis. No, no, no. Is that your generational name?
No,
It,
no, no.
no, no, no. He's a Nezebek. I'm a Hekama.
Oh, Hasabik. Okay. The
Nesibik,
generational name,
Nezebek.
Nesibik,
Nesabik.
Nesibik, yeah.
Yes, that's right. So all those guys in your generation, those are the ones you trust automatically.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So
And
unfortunately, there was just you and your generation, really, wasn't it?
there was a what?
No, I said unfortunately, there was just you alone in your generation. Was it just you alone that
Oh,
graduated in your
yes.
generation?
Yeah, I ended up alone.
I have to compliment you or congratulate you on that. Still, at least one got through.
It is tough. It is
Yeah,
very hard.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
how
It's
many
extremely
were
hard.
there originally in your gen?
Yeah, we started 28. It's very hard. But
Oh.
I'm looking to these now that I'm older. I'm looking at this because I'm seeing what happens. Yes, we are taught that life has a phase, you know. There's an arrival and there's an exit point in the
Hmm.
life on this kind of plane. But as I get older, there's something, enough effort. We must put enough effort, it seems to me, into guaranteeing our physical survival
Yeah.
as the base on which to be working, you know. So I'm looking at our survival in Merida in my time, in the time left me, looking at you in London, in Montreal, all around those who came after me. I'm not worrying about those who went before me. They're responsible for me. Good for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm looking at these others who came after me and saying,
Your
how do we
responsibility.
how do we get together and, you know, build survival sources back in Merida
Hmm.
so that we are able to buy a return ticket to the West in our
Hmm.
lifetime,
Hmm.
not it being such an exorbitant expense, you know, when you have to raise the money from Merida to buy a round trip ticket to London,
It's
you know.
designed that way, don't you think? It's designed that
What?
way. That
Yes,
because I mean, the fact that we have to go through Europe, if there's going to be any influx in the movement of people, then they can monitor that, really, isn't it? So they know exactly our movement and how you know how we where we are, you know. But if we had that direct pathway, really, then I
yeah,
think that would probably intimidate them even more because we can just do as we want, basically, and that's why it was a good initiative, like for places like Ghana, places like that, open up their doors to the Caribbean, and just not that we don't need to have a visa no more to travel, just having that open gateway, really, right, so that we can communicate with each other and share and bounce off each other, because that's what happened to us, really, that we've been still kept apart from each other. When you look at
yes,
the fares that we have to pay to go and visit our loved ones abroad or back home,
yes,
is like there's a deliberate ploy, really, right, to stop us, really, from doing them things, compared to, say, like somewhere
yes,
like from here to Jamaica, what they're gonna charge, yeah, and then say from here to Australia, which is 3-4 times the distance, and yet it's cheaper to go those distances, really, as opposed to us reuniting back with our families to strengthen ourselves. So having our own airlines and that kind of stuff there is very important, really, for us, as you know.
yes. I would like to add to that because the the prophet predicted, made one of his prophecies is that we're living at a time when the cycle has changed and there's a winding down of this colonial thing that has gone 2,000 years. There's a winding down. We can see that first Merida is a land with the original peoples and their boundaries very well known, and the borders were very well known. You can tell those borders by languages, you know. But suddenly, in this balkanization phase, someone goes and makes an overlay and writes new countries and new territories and comes and places it on Africa, and suddenly countries that share borders, I mean, are now lumped together in an artificial, recently created place called Nigeria or Ghana or Cameroon, and then on the border of those countries, you have original uh, countries split. Okay, so um, what has happened is people have agreed. The people, I call them, without any insult to them, just describing their reality, puppets were appointed to rule in this artificial grid that is lying on top and choking the original traditional grid. Puppets rule it, and those puppets, in the interests of their puppeteers, create wars like the one in my country, my puppet country. Um, they create those wars, and but they are beginning to see the contradictions of the kinds of choices they've made. You know, the AU, over 4 years ago, I think, declared Haiti part of Africa, part of Merida. The AU has also decided that every Meridian African, wherever you were born, has a right to a passport for Africa. So these national passports that now exist, the AU has decided that they're phasing them out. You have one passport and travel anywhere on that continent, you know, without needing a passport. The AU sent out the ambassador last year. You can find her on YouTube to go and tell Africans, to use her word, everywhere should reclaim their continent
Yeah, definitely.
and come back anytime to visit or to live. And that wherever they live, they are to regard it as home. And she said, in the same way that a Jew anywhere can regard Israel as their home. So this is the prophecy of Naba, from my view, because that's a turning. It's a turning of the very puppets against the puppeteer without war. Recently, there was a lecture at the Oxford Union. I forget his name. The guy, Emeritan by skin color, said that what they're seeing around the world is that the host is rejecting its parasite. And he was speaking about the rejection everywhere that is on the rise of European ways of doing things, of dressing, of serving food, you know, of schooling, of educating people. It says the parasite, not the host, meaning the native people, is rejecting its parasites. This is happening. Ntam might be the epitome of it all, the best expression of it all. It's not political, it's non-violent, it's not going out to kill anyone, and it has a philosophy of killing nobody anyway, to begin with. There is no weapon against this thing. There is no weapon against this kind of movement, and it's just demonstrating the accuracy of that prophecy. So, but I think that we should. I'm going back to Ouagadougou. I think that I'll suggest that we get together and brainstorm and create entities today that can generate income for us and for the hosts who will be the first to meet us. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot of plans in my head, and I have contact with one person where I'm prepared to, dump a lot of my earnings to get the equipment to start stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Elder will do all for that. And as I said, I definitely would like to be part of the brainstorming. I'd like
Okay.
to just read a paragraph in your article, probably to sum up, and then you could just end your interview with a synopsis on this. But it says the use of knowledge raises the quality of its initiates And that quality is an example of what these initiates can take with them across not only national or cultural borders, but even across the border between the living and the dead. That was from your article.
We touched on that earlier when I mentioned the aging, about if one realizes Hattini, I think it's Hattini, it is Hattini Kitem, who said in an article not yet published, I don't think it's published yet, that what we're doing here on this particular land is really, in this life, is like what others do in boot camp. It's preparation for living later elsewhere. So the border, when we enter the coffin, time is. It was only at the time that I came to that particular realization. I belong to many spiritual organizations. I have been looking for them. I can name a few. Or should I? I don't know.
You don't need to, no.
I don't need to. Okay, good.
No.
Where you belong to these these organizations that, and all of them, strangely enough, cite Egypt, Kemet, the physical Kemet, at least the Valley of the Kings. They cite that as the source of what they teach the world. Amazing that they cite it as the source. Then Nebnaba comes and, like a mushroom out of the ground, pops up and shows you, yeah, here we are. And they take cover and disappear and continue with their little, your knowledge has just been updated. If you are sincere, a sincere seeker, it's been updated. If Naba arrives in Germany and is reading the Medu, to put together a code of human behavior, what else did you need? If you were a student and you finally see a teacher who knows it, judging from what you already have learned, the rational thing is to go after him. So, that border called death and so on is your horizon. You're going there. And damn, better than the other organizations, as I'm pointing one that I know knows about us and didn't come aboard. The one who was teaching me there, I can name the person, but not the person. I was in the middle of Kabbalistic initiation. My Kabbalah teacher gave me a book in CD format. It was recently off copyright and could be distributed that way, titled Egypt, Light of the World. By everyone knows that book. Most people know that book. I forget the author for now. And I came to him after I saw volume 54. He was the one who gave me volume 54 of the Rising Firefly. He said, take this home and read and tell me if it's up to if it's worth anything. And I asked him, where did this come from? He said, it's a group here of black people who are bringing this as their answer to New Age. So I took it home and read it and came breathless, panting, running back to him and saying, this is it, Master, this is it. This is what you were looking for. Because Chancellor Williams said it, you preached. He told me about Chancellor Williams. I said, that's not Chancellor Williams. Gerald Massey.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Gerald Massey. You told me about this man and what he'd found and what he is saying. He and the other woman whom I knew in real life because she was a teacher at my university, from an Austrian, who told me, keep looking. Those that you're working with now, no, keep looking. When you meet them, you will know because they will be speaking Medu. I said, what? He said, they'll be writing it. They'll be speaking it. They'll be reading it. He said, that's how you recognize them. And he said to me, they will be living people. They won't be scholars and so on, pointing you to books. Okay. So I said she died the same year that I discovered, or I came, stumbled, my ancestors led me to Mintam. Okay,
Okay.
she died that year,
Mhm.
2006. But I went to my teacher of Kabbalah and said, here it is, let's go. No.
Mhm.
Big Bai came and gave a lecture here. He attended the lecture, you know, but I saw he couldn't fit. He was wanting to be a teacher, but there wasn't anyone here you could teach. You couldn't teach Big Bai and his generation. You couldn't teach anyone in Perang because you didn't have access to what they did.
Mhm.
You didn't have the access. So that border, people mentioned it, but there was always something horrible about dying.
Mhm.
Okay, something terrible about dying. Something sad about dying. There was always that in all the schools where I studied. Until I come here to see that, as Nikitan says, it's a boot camp. Where we are, we're in a boot camp. If we do well, then we shall do much better upon arrival
Mhm.
in the real battlefield or whatever, in Imentet.
Mhm.
It's a boot camp. That border, uh, I don't understand enough to say more.
Mhm.
Anyway, I appreciate the memory of that particular passage. And the moment I struggle to say whatever, just to say that aging is at the bank. Strangely, at the bank, the banker was. I met a new banker today. I am struggling to reduce fees that I pay for
Mhm.
sending support home. Okay, or that I pay when I'm in Wagga and go to a TM to withdraw money. We're losing a lot of money using these middlemen of these banks in the UK. I thought Barclays Bank was going to be a good one, but Apple just broke with them. So, and we're talking, and somehow he he brought up aging and asked me, um, what can he do about becoming older?
Mhm.
He's in his mid 40s or something. And I'm thinking, we just met. It's the first time I've met this one.
Mhm.
I said, you can do some more thinking about it and then travel. See how people deal with it elsewhere. It might lead you to some insights. But do some more thinking. Just, or read some more. I forgot to tell him, you might try reading around the internet about the reason behind the existence of something called the Book of the Dead. Why would any culture spend so much time with an issue like death,
Mhm.
So, anyway, I think we should get together in numbers on pilgrimage, or whenever we have time, if we go on pilgrimage, ask for some time and brainstorm on how to make sure that we can generate income, survival means from there with our hands, agriculture, gardening, and with our brains,
Mhm.
because we have the capacity.
Yeah, definitely. We're
We
not
have
we're
it.
not short in numbers anyway, and we're not short in finances
Yes.
really. So it's just the best way to utilize it really. We've
I
got
mean,
it.
Manu, you're in the UK. The distance doesn't exist. We can create networks and work anytime from anywhere together. Real estate is an area, okay? That's easy to manage remotely. You guys live in London, you know the map for that area. We live in Manu, we live in cities here, we know the map here. So, um, but what is there that we can do in Waka that would um, become an option for people there to have access to the money ingredient that they need in their lives, just as we need it in ours? What can we do? I think it's something that it would be very, very, it is dear to my heart to work with anyone who wants to do that kind of thing.
Okay, well, that definitely is a topic for another time,
Okay.
isn't it? Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, we can come back and elaborate on
Mhm.
that a little bit more.
Mhm.
I shall ask Nikita to do that one.
Okay.
Okay, I shall defer to Nikita.
Ah,
Yes.
okay. Well, we're coming to the close of the show. I'd like to say du'a for your wise words and your depth of knowledge.
I'd like to say dua to you too, and then Nini also.
Mhm.
Yeah. And dua as well from me in the Hipsa, and hopefully in the future we can bring it back on really to continue this insight of what you would like to see develop in Ouagadougou. So you put it out there, so let's see if there's any response.
The seed has been planted.
Yeah.
I had forgotten I was speaking to more than two people. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Your voice has
All
been
right.
heard out there, and this is why we appreciate like the initiate taking time really to come on the show really, because there's a lot of information, ideas, things that we could put through the Earth Center, um, both to initiates and to people outside who want to be a part of something positive as well. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so
Okay.
Iriru, Elder.
Iriru, and
Iriheru.
I hope
Iriru.
you have a happy fish day tomorrow.
Netadua.
Wish you the same.
All right. Iriru.
When I think of all the bitter times I've had, oh God, it doesn't make me sad. Oh no, it doesn't bother me. Strength and honor is all I see. But oh, give thanks unto the Almighty God. He showed me what I had. He said, stand firm and keep the faith. Oh, your reward shall be great. So now I see the day when I'm stepping out of Babylon in New Jerusalem, in Mount Zion. Now I'm stepping out of Babylon in New Jerusalem, in Mount Zion. Stepping out of Babylon one by one, stepping in Mount Zion. Stepping out of Babylon one by one, stepping in Mount Zion. Stepping, stepping, stepping out of Babylon. Stepping, stepping, stepping out of Babylon. I've got no.
Ujai, everyone. I'm just going to go through a few events that are taking place within the Earth Center. Tomorrow, the 19th of September, in the Kemetic Sidereal calendar, it's the 9th of Tahuti, and that day is entitled Fish Day. Now, this day has been celebrated for more than 45,000 years as the Sebit Day. On this day, everyone from the pharaoh to the farmer will eat fish with vegetables and cereals. Humanity celebrates this day as a day of reconciliation between mankind and all the animals living on the land. On this day, we honor every land animal that has red blood and breathes with lungs, moves on land, and has any expression as creatures advancing on divine paths. According to Kemetic ancient scripts, The 9th of Tahuti is the day mankind refuses to eat any animal belonging to his world. One eats fish as a symbol of equality among all humans in front of the gods. One shares fish with friends, neighbors, and passers-by. So everyone is encouraged to bring cooked fish or a dish containing fish, except catfish, to share at all of the Earth Centre temples across the globe. So in the UK, the London School will be starting from 7:30 p.m. and the address is 21 Sunnyside Road, London E10 7BB. The telephone number is 0207 175 4144. The Coventry School will also be celebrating at the same time, 7:30, and the address is 18 Biggin Hall Crescent, Coventry CV3 1GS. The telephone number 02476 26 6859 or 07305 995944. And for people in North America, if they go to www.theearthcenter.org, you can find the locations of the other temples and schools across North America and Canada to celebrate this Ancient of Days celebration. And that is tomorrow, the 19th of September, entitled the 19th of Tahuti. On the 28th of September, there will be two events happening. One in London, which is a Wisdom of the Nile lecture series, and that will be at 6:30 at the London School. The address again is 21 Sunnyside Road, London E10 7BB. And then there will be a lecture in Coventry on the same day. That's the 28th of September, between 6:30 and 8:30. So those are the events for the next 2 weeks.
That's everything. And since you gave out the information there?
Yeah.
Okay then, so that we're coming to the close of the show, and so we would just like to say du'a to bless, really, right, for again giving us the opportunity for the Wisdom of the Nile show, representing the Earth Centre.
And du'a for our special guest, Elder Sakul Washek from the Manu Temple.
Yeah, du'a, yeah, and yeah. From the Earth Centre, we'll say Iri Iru.
Iriru.
No cigarette smoking. This song goes in the memory of the beloved prophet Nebnabala Musa Mordinabig, the doggone praise, Maher, the truth teller, Bisinabasa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Maheru, Maheru, Maheru. Far away, from far away, far
by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock the treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet now. Far away, from far away, far away, from far away, West Africa, from far away, prophet Naba, far away, La Musa, far away, from far away, my prophet, from far away, prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, prophet, from far away. Bob Marley say, emancipate.